Peace and light, family. I hope that y'all are well. Okay, we are in here. We in here. We in here. Here they go. Come on. Oh, shucks. Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Deja. Hi, y'all. Hey, Kimberly. Hey. It's good seeing y'all, African Rum Punch, my girl. Hey, Rhonda. I hope that. That's me. That's me. I got to mute. I got to mute. There we go. All right. I hope that y'all are well and happy and whole, family. I am here with who y'all should already know them. Y'all should already know them. They really don't need no introduction because they've been
Let's
on
be
the channel
clear.
before. I've been on their channels. We always talking and hanging in the jamming. Okay, we got them. This is the queen, Iyanifa Shondra Sharice, who y'all can't never get a name right. Okay. I affectionately call her Iya. She is an Iyanifa in the beautiful African traditional way of life known as Isheshe. Some call it Ifa. But this is Iya Chandra. Okay. And next up we have Darcell Andre. Darcell Andre. Okay.
Good God.
Holistic and esoteric teacher. Come on now.
That's it. That's it.
I got the title.
Let's go.
Did it right. That's it. Yes.
Our intention today is to discuss boundaries. We are here to discuss boundaries, y'all. If you have not yet seen my Taurus takeover video, in the Taurus takeover, I unpacked the new moon in Taurus, Mercury direct in Taurus, Jupiter is in Taurus, and how all of this energy will be impacting us. I also talked about some things that you should do and not do, some journal prompts, crystals, herbs, and all that good stuff. But keep in mind that I said Taurus is all about stability and steadiness. With all of this Taurus energy, we are truly desiring to be steady, to be calm, to be stable, to be grounded. I also informed y'all that during this time, it's a possibility that you may be tested. Folks gonna try to pull them triggers, okay? They're gonna try to tap dance on your nerves. This is when we are going to have a full understanding of not only our grounding techniques, not only will you be forced to practice your grounding techniques, but you will also have some realizations of boundaries. These are boundaries that I need to implement. What consequences do I have for my boundaries? What boundaries is being tested right now in this situation? Sometimes what will be triggered is your boundaries. What boundaries do you have around your wellness? So the intention for this live is for us to be able to, from 3 different perspectives, but all aligned, of course, what are boundaries? Let's identify what boundaries are. How do we set our boundaries? How do we communicate our boundaries? What are consequences that we have for our boundaries, and all that good stuff, all things boundaries, okay? I love y'all dearly. I see y'all in the chat. Of course, if you have questions, we'll likely probably do a Q&A at the end. But before we get into that, let's get into this. Iya, I'm going to start with you.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you define boundaries?
What you are willing to and not to accept from others. Period. It's just the most finite definition, period. Just that's it. What are you willing to accept and not accept?
I love that. I love that. Darcell Andre.
When she was saying that, I was thinking of, what are you willing to do?
Tell me what you're willing to do.
Well, when I think of boundaries, I'm immediately reminded of Fences, where y'all seen Fences played by August Wilson. It was turned a movie. Denzel Washington, Viola Davis. They were Troy and Rose. And it was stated about the fence that some people build fences to keep people out and others build fences to keep people in. And so to me, a boundary acts like a fence, right? It controls the flow of traffic. It controls the energy exchange, and it allows you to decide what you receive and what you don't receive, what you give and what you don't give. A fence.
Offense. I love that. I love that. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with both of y'all definitions. Over time and through practice, I realized, and I'm just being honest here, boundaries for me, it's a protection tool. I view boundaries as no different than view my smoke bowl. It's no different than I view my spiritual baths. It's no different than I view my smudging and laying my salt down in my floor washes. Boundaries is my protection tool. Boundaries are, in a sense, tools that I put in place, life practices that I put in place in order to protect my wellness. For me, I really had to shift my definition of boundaries because I used to use them as a weapon. I used to use them as a weapon of defense as opposed to a way, a method, a practice to protect myself. I had to realize that viewing my boundaries as a practice as opposed to a weapon really shifted things in my life because I realized that I needed to practice boundaries. It's nobody else's job to practice my boundaries. I have to practice my boundaries. So that's why I said I view it in alignment with my smoke bowl, my spiritual bath, because I wouldn't expect nobody to run my spiritual bath and put me in the bath water and bathe me down. I wouldn't expect nobody to set my smoke bowl and, fill it up and smudge me down. I wouldn't expect nobody to come in and do my floor wash and wash my floors. I can't expect nobody else to practice my boundaries. Right? So boundaries for me is definitely a tool to protect my wellness. It's a tool. It's something that I practice. It's something that I do, right? In order to protect my wellness. Oh, I love this, Zane. I love this. Boundaries versus barriers. Come on,
tag me in, sister.
Boom.
Tag me in. This very thing is something that I've talked about a lot with the Lighthouse, is that there's a difference between a boundary and a barrier. And I think how you were saying, Queen, was that you used it as a weapon. I found that I was using it as a reason to stay exactly where I was. And as a reason to prevent anybody from being able to interact or any change from happening. A barrier, there's no entry. You got to turn around. You don't have any type of connection with anybody. You can't grow from that because the barrier elicits isolation. And so for me, I was definitely using my boundaries as a barrier and then wondering why I was circling my thoughts, wondering why I wasn't getting any new information or any new perspectives. And I will call my my isolation periods, I just have boundaries. No, you're lonely. You need, that's what it is. You lonely, and or, I find oftentimes the ways in which, I always call it the anti-energy. Okay. People call it the devil. I say the anti-energy. The anti-energy gets us often by telling us that we must isolate ourselves and shut us down from communication with anybody else. Now, there's a difference between isolation and solitude, of course, right? When you're in solitude, you are with yourself, right? You are able to process and your mood is very different. And isolation is normally comes from way of you thinking that everybody is against you or you can't trust nobody. And now you got a barrier that blocks you off from receiving any help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing about it is, over time, we have the right for our boundaries to change, right? We have the rights for our boundaries to change, even your view on boundaries. And a huge mistake I made in the very beginning of my wellness journey and setting boundaries journey, a huge mistake I made was I thought that if someone else had a boundary, then that also meant that they practiced that with other people, right? So let's say, for example, Darcell has a boundary. He has something that's a boundary for him. I thought that meant also that Darcell would act in that way. So he practices that boundary with other people. What I realized was your boundaries don't have to look like mine. My boundaries don't have to look like yours. So just because Darcell says, my boundary is and that's saying he said this, but say for example, he says, my boundary is I don't want nobody calling me before 7 a.m. That does not mean that Darcell is not necessarily not gonna call somebody before 7 a.m. That's his boundary. That's what he does to protect his wellness. And often I thought it was like I move how you move. I match your energy. I do what you do. But what I realized is that I'm not matching your energy because I don't want your energy. I don't want to show up how you show up. I don't want to manifest how you manifest. So I'm not matching your energy. I'm not setting my boundaries based on how you said your boundary was and creating our dynamic around this boundary battle. You know what I'm saying? What I had to realize was it's important to understand who I am, understand my needs, understand my wellness, and what do I need to put in place? What boundaries do I need to put in place to protect my wellness? And Darcell has the right to do the same for him. Iya has the right to do the same for her. And when you love people, they will protect you, so they will respect your boundaries. I love Iya, I love Darcell, so I will respect their boundaries. So even having boundaries within the community, everybody's boundaries is not going to look the same. And that's okay, right? If you love people, you will respect their boundaries. Now, let's get into this because I really want to know.
Excuse me, before you change, Poe, I got a
Go ahead.
question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So then for you, because both of you all, when you gave your explanation, there was something that I noticed, and I speak to the people about this all the time. Your expectation versus your perception. Because to me, that still aligns with your boundaries versus everything else. So your expectation versus your perception, how does that shape the boundaries that you set for what you do and what you see of others? That's a question for the both of you.
Our expectation versus our perception.
Yes, because people will perceive, because you said at one point you thought because this person set this time and said this thing that they were doing that for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it could be different for each person. So that's an expectation of what's expected versus what is perceived to be true.
I think for me, what is that term? Know thyself. I know myself and I know that I can be sensitive. And so the first thing I have to do is not take it personal, because we will go forth and create all of these reasons as to why this person is doing this based upon them not meeting our expectation. And so I had to learn everything is not about you. What in the narcissistic traits going on here? This is not about you. Okay. This is not about you. I have a friend right now who I love very dearly, who I have not talked to in a little while. And I said, now I done sent this mother text message and I done called his ass. I done did. And I'm like, but I see you live on IG.
Yes.
I'm going off. And I think that but every time that I've spoke to this person prior to, I know them to have these moments where they're like, I'm reduced, I'm to myself. So I have to make sure that I check myself and know, Darcell, this is not about you. And don't assume that this is about you. Don't take it personal.
Absolutely.
Okay, Monica.
Don't
this ain't about you.
Now, come on, Darcell. Just one of them days. But the thing about that expectation versus perception, especially with regard to setting our boundaries, is I had to realize that I was expecting me and other people. I was expecting the energy that I put out and, the things that I would do and the way that I would care and the way that I respect. I was expecting that from other people. And y'all, let me tell you something, baby. This is a big lesson. Family, wellness, community, lighthouse, everybody who's watching. Let me tell y'all something. Take note of this. What I had to realize was when it came to expecting me from other people with regard to boundaries, I cared too much.
Mm-hmm.
I was too selfless. I did not have boundaries for my own wellness. When I started setting boundaries, I was doing it wrong. when I started being conscious of other people's boundaries, I was doing it wrong. Wellness community, I told y'all this during the Zoom. Sometimes people you love, people you care about, you love them and care about them so much that you're making yourself uncomfortable to make them comfortable. And what I realized when I say I was expecting me from other people, I realized that I was going so hard with respecting everybody's boundaries and making sure that they're comfortable and making sure that they're well, that I was compromising my wellness. I was respecting your boundary by not doing things that made me well. You don't like incense in your house. So when I come to your house, you want me to come to your house so bad, but when I come, I can't do nothing for my wellness. I can't burn my incense. I can't do my smoke bowl. I can't take spiritual baths. You want to eat dinner together, but I can't pray how I pray. I can't do what I do. I got to respect what you want. I'm respecting your boundaries, but your boundaries are going against my wellness. Your boundaries is making me uncomfortable. And what I realized is the moment that I started asking, what about how I feel? What about what I need? What about me? I realized that I wasn't respecting my own boundaries. I was expecting, my feelings were so hurt because I was expecting folks to care about me like I cared about them. I was expecting folks to respect me the way I respected them, to value my boundaries the way I valued theirs. I had a roommate one time, and we were supposed to be friends. We ain't friends no more. We were supposed to be friends. And I had simply asked a simple request. I said, if I am not home, please do not go in my room and take things out of my room. She set that boundary. I respected that boundary with her, and I was expecting her to do the same for me. Y'all, that boundary wasn't being respected with me. I would come home, things is missing, things is gone. People had them been sleeping in my bed. All kind of stuff was going on. You know what I'm saying? Complete disrespect. And for me, I kept communicating my boundaries again, stating them again. And what I realized was I'm expecting me from you. I'm expecting you to care about me how I care about you. What I had to realize was that, hey, stop. Hush, hush, shush, shush. You need to realize what is actually happening here. You need to realize that your expectation is off. My expectation was also skewing my perception because get into this, Iya. Because I cared and because I loved her and because I was expecting her to show up how I showed up, I was giving passes and giving grace in spaces that it wasn't deserved. I was perceiving her intentional disrespect of my boundaries as she didn't mean it. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe didn't. I was giving too much grace. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to that whole expectation versus perception thing, I had to realize that oftentimes my expectations was skewing my perception. My expectation that people was showing up how I showed up, and when they did make a mistake, they didn't mean it, because if I was doing it, I wouldn't have meant to hurt you or disrespect your boundaries. That caused me to perceive things wrong when my boundaries was crossed, and I was giving too much grace, and I was giving too many passes, and I was showing too much love, and I had to stop. Go ahead, Darcell.
I love that you said that. First, I want to say that there's an African proverb that says, your thoughts are not their thoughts. Everybody does not think and operate like you. And Poe, I tell you that right there, I don't know if it's a trait of a spiritual worker to be so overly involved and concerned and helpful at the detriment of your own self. But that was something that I struggled with. I had a friend who took me through all of that. And then I realized that all of this stuff is happening. My overgiving, my overextending, my over excusing was because I didn't have a high value of myself. My self-worth was not up to par. And that was the reason why I was so willing to stretch myself even to my own detriment to satisfy and make them feel supported. And I think that there is a balance. Yeah, you have some friends who are in a desperate situation, and you may, because that's your friend, do something at that time that you really don't want to do, but you know that they really need that. That's different, except, for the fact that you get to decide what you participate in. Some people's boundaries, even in relationships, is like, I don't talk to you every day. I talk to you, twice a week. That's too much for me. That's clingy if I got to talk to you every day. That can very well be their boundary. And like, okay, that's cool. I'm not going to come and tell you that you're wrong about this. However, for me, if you're going to be my romantic partner, talking to you Monday and Friday, that's not going to work for me.
Come on now, friend.
I cannot participate. I wish you well.
I hope that nigga is watching this. You lost one.
You lost one.
Okay. Funny how
that
money
part.
The situation. You
That's
hear me?
it.
But I'm gonna let you know right now.
You better know.
Okay.
From a for real place. I'm not here for the Monday check-in, Friday check-in. What about Wednesday? What about what I want? What about what's best for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and see, y'all, the real lesson from this portion is understanding that, you have to know what boundaries are for you.
Yeah.
What do boundaries mean for you? And it's key and very important to understand that boundaries is something that you practice for you. You set them, you decide what they are. And the most important thing is that they are built around your wellness. When it comes to setting your boundaries, you have to, honestly, you got to put yourself first. Boundaries is about centering yourself. You are in the center and your boundaries are around you. In order to truly set boundaries, you have to center yourself. Some folks are so selfless. You care for everybody. You want to make everybody else comfortable, be convenient, be easy, be accessible to everybody, that you are forgetting to center yourself. So the first step of setting boundaries is to put yourself in the center. Put your wellness first. What do you need to protect your wellness? What boundaries do you implement to protect your wellness? So, Iya, for you, as you have gone on your journey of setting boundaries, right?
Yes.
What are boundaries that you had to put in place to protect your wellness? And these could be boundaries with family, with friends, within your career, your spiritual life, because I see a lot of folks in the chat is like, oh, I need this for my family. I need this for this. So for you, all holistically, family, friends, relationship, career, what are boundaries that you had to put in place in your life to protect your wellness?
So let me first say, for those people that grow up with people in a close environment that you consider to be family, and they may or may not be your siblings, don't expect your experiences in that household to be the same experience for everybody else. Because there are plenty of people who will say, well, they grew up with me, they should know better, or I live with them, or my siblings should know better and not do this. So just ixnay that already, because their experience is their experience. How they say they're doing something is how they say they're doing it. So don't expect because you do something that you're going to expect that from them. Okay? They're an individual. Secondly, it was having to, and I'm going to come to y'all because you're used to me talking from just the aspect, the EFI aspect, but I'm going to talk to you from a business aspect. And I'm great at this. So those of you that know, I have a travel business in which my family, and we're talking about generations up into immediate family, will test the nerve that is my last when it comes to this. So I'm going to see if y'all can get this situation and setting boundaries. Because they know me, okay, they're like, hey, I want to go do something. So I'm like, okay, cool. Why are you texting me? That's an email. This is business, because it needed to be set that this is not a hobby. This is my income. This is how I do what I do. This is not a game for me, but it's text, Facebook message me. Hey, I want to go on a trip. Great. Do you know the first thing I did to set a boundary? Send them the link to go fill out a form. Y'all think I have y'all just filling out forms. No, boo. And you could be my own parent and you will get the link. I love you to life, but you want to go back and forth with all these different things, and I keep my businesses organized. So here's the link. Then it's like, what do you mean? I'm your great aunt. You're not just gonna do no, boo. Here's the link. Well, what can I get for so and so? That's why this link exists, and so you have to keep reiterating that So that boundary is, this is not a hobby. This is a position, a job that I hold. This is my business. Even when I have those that come to me for EFA stuff, same difference. I'm like, oh, you got to get on this wait list. I'm not even playing. The same things I give y'all. If somebody's not about it to expire or something else isn't happening that I consider to be a detriment that I speak about, then you're going to be on the wait list with everybody else. Because this is not a game for me. This isn't just cut to the front of the line. Oh, I know them. No, there's a system in place, and that system in place keeps my sanity. That keeps me able to balance the different things that I'm involved in. Because I've told y'all before, I don't have any extra stuff I do outside of this. Educating y'all, and those two things is what I talk about. So, same thing. Even when I was doing weddings, same thing. My boundary was, don't send me a text message. No. Put it in an email or fill out the form. That's it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Separating business from pleasure, business from friendship, business from family, having that clear boundary, it's a separation. And to separate it, you just, here's the link. Now we business.
That's it.
Darcell, for you, what are some boundaries that you had to put in place to protect your wellness in any areas of your life?
Yeah, I see a lot of people really putting an emphasis on like family. I had to file a divorce against mine.
Not the emancipation.
Not divorcing the family.
I had to divorce several members of my family because, one, I think that you have your family and you got your tribe, and everybody in your family don't make it over to your tribe. Right. And that's just it. Did y'all hear that? Let me say it again. You got your family and you got your tribe. Yeah, and not everybody in your family becomes a part of the tribe. And a lot of us, I have had some very traumatic experiences and violations that have occurred by way of people that was supposed to love me, by way of traditional system saying the family sticks together. Now you about to see, you about to send some papers. Send them the papers.
Ready to sign them papers?
I mean, I had some serious violations from people that I'm like, wait a minute. First of all, I'm the baby in the family. Like, y'all are supposed to be the ones that I'm supposed to look to, not the ones I got to make sure that the stuff is locked up, make sure to check the bank accounts, make sure y'all were doing some stuff that was out of pocket. And I had to break from that traditional thought and that traditional teaching. Because, you know, Black folks would be like, you know, keep it in the family. You don't say nothing. You're supposed to, you know, go to the ends of the earth for your family, for the same people that would not do that for you. And I realized that that was a very toxic perspective. And so the first thing I had to do before I started to ask myself, what does my boundaries look like and don't look like? I had to get clear on my position. I had to get very clear on that. I had to get clear on the fact that this was wrong. And Darcell, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it and trying to figure out. And because I'm good for an excuse of a person and say, I can't understand how they got to this point. There's an origin story that I'm really excellent at that, but I already got that degree. I don't need another one in that. So I don't need to learn that. I need to learn how to hold people accountable. But first I had to get clear about what it was that I felt about them and I felt about what they did. And so I had to search myself and say, Darcell, you don't like it. You can't deal with, I'm going to be very frank. I said, I can't deal with no stupid shit. I can't deal with stupid. I can't deal with that. That to me is nuts. And I learned by way of a repeated pattern that as soon as I see that there is something off here, I'm not going to act like I don't know that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to act like I can't feel and sense when this is finna go south. So if that means that, no, I'm not coming for Easter, that means I'm not coming for Easter. If that means that me and a particular family member who I was close with, and this is real, close with, grew up together, everything like that, wants to do sibling things, and I don't feel comfortable with that because I no longer hold you in that position. That don't mean that I can't say hi to you. That don't mean that we can't be at the family dinner and I'm like, hey, I said, okay, I like the outfit, but we not going to hang out. I'm not telling you my business. You're not meeting my significant other. None of that is happening. So for me, the very first thing, I had to get clear about myself and stand in that and be willing to be so true to what it was that I believed and what kept me well, that I was willing to piss everybody off in the process. And so that was for me.
Right. I love that. And you know, that part about like, I'm not going to say being willing to, but accepting that you might piss everybody off in the process. And that's okay. You know, something I saw in the chat that was like a common thread is like, you know, someone said, you know, when you say that you're putting yourself first, people say that you're selfish. Yes, I am. Unapologetically. Unapologetically. What Ayala Van Zandt said, I'm not selfish, I'm self-full. Okay, I'm not selfish because selfish implies that I care a little bit about myself. I care-ish. I don't care-ish. I care full of myself. I'm self-full. Okay, I put myself first. And that was the really, I cannot emphasize that enough, y'all. When I decided to start putting myself first is when my life completely shifted. I used to be a person where I was very big on like sharing opportunities. You know, when I listen, you know, when you're the first one to do a lot of things, you get opportunities, and you know, and this is for everybody who, you know, you come from that type of background. You got to put the whole tribe on. You got to put everybody on. You got to put the family on. You got to put your friends on. You got to put your people on. You are the person who opens the doors, who put people on. So I was the person where if I got an opportunity, if I was ever put in a position of leadership in the workplace, I'm calling my friends like, hey, y'all, they hired me to be a site coordinator here. They hired me to do here. I can hire 5 people. I'm sending them the links first. I'm sending my tribe, my family, the links first. My friends, the links first. I was putting everybody on. I get an apartment. Whoever want to come move to New York, whoever want to come stay with me, you cool. Let me help you get on your feet. I was that person. That shit left me exhausted. It left my resources drained. It left me off track, off focus with my own growth and elevation. Because what happens is you trying to climb a mountain and you got 30 niggas on your back. You trying to climb a mountain and they not climbing too. They holding on to you and telling you keep going. You got it, and holding on to you. So you have to become self-full. You have to put yourself first. And sometimes boundaries look like saying, hey, y'all got to get up off me. I got to get to the top of that mountain. Once I get up there, it's the ladder up there, and I'm going to throw it down and y'all can climb up. But even when I throw that ladder down, the only folks that could get on it is the folks that's at least goddamn trying to climb the mountain themselves.
Thank you.
Trying to put yourself up. So putting myself first was the first practice of the boundary, prioritizing me. Once I started prioritizing me, a huge boundary I put in place was practicing, and that's why I said boundaries for me is something that I practice. I don't expect nobody else to do it for me. Practicing being unapologetic with my no. Unapologetic with saying, I can't do that right now. I'm not doing that right now. Matter of fact, I can, I'm just not, because that's not my vibe.
And that's it. I don't got to explain.
That's it. That's not my vibe. I did a video on this years ago where I said, like, and y'all think I'm playing. That's really my thing. I will tell folks, family, friends, anybody, that's not my vibe right now. That's not my vibe right now. It's a running joke amongst my family and my friends because they know I will not answer the phone. I will not pick up the FaceTime. I'm not in the group chat. I will literally, what I've learned, if I'm watching a show and I'm into the show and this is something that's feeding my wellness right now, I'm not answering the phone for you. Before, I used to stop doing things that fed my wellness and that made me feel good in order to be there and be present because you rang me and you needed me. I was putting you first. I was doing what you needed me to do. I was prioritizing your wellness. You need to talk right now. So I'm going to stop doing what I got to do in order to prioritize you. I stopped doing that. I stopped. Yeah. If I'm feeling good and I'm doing something for my wellness, and sometimes not even something for my wellness, y'all, I used to be so bad with this, with not putting myself first. I used to do this thing, and you might do this too, family. People would tell me that they was coming in town because I live in New York, so a lot of people come visit. They would tell me they was coming in town. Y'all, I would take off work. I would change the schedule. I would do all these things in order to make sure you had the time of your life in New York. When I was teaching, I would sometimes take off early, meet me in Harlem for lunch, and then I'll take you around the city and da. When I came in town, I had to come in town when you was off. I had to check in when you was on vacation. I had to check in when it was convenient for you. You didn't take off work for me. You didn't prioritize me over your money. You didn't do that for me, but that's what I was doing for other people. I had to stop. I had to be unapologetic with my no, my house is not open this weekend. I need to rest. You can't stay with me this weekend.
It's closed.
My not just my house is closed, but I'm closed. I'm not gonna be able to catch you this visit. I'll catch you the next time around. I'm not answering the phone today. I'm not responding to those text messages today. I'm not in the group chat this week at all. At all. I'm doing what I need to do for my wellness. So just being unapologetic with my no, unapologetic with being selfish. My sister and my niece will laugh because they'll be like, I'll answer the phone. They'll be like, oh, she answered the phone today. Yes, I'm free. I got out of the habit of feeling like I had to be available every time you needed me. I got out of the habit of, when I was in grad school, I would be in class, a family member, somebody called my phone, I'm stepping out of class. Why would you step out of class and miss your education to answer the phone to be there for somebody else? That's not even logical when you think about it. Why is you taking off work and missing your money because this person came in town and you want to take them around the city and make sure they have a good time? That's not even logical. In hindsight, I can't even believe I did some of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's the thing. Once you start implementing your boundaries and you set your boundaries, you prioritize yourself and do what you need to do to put your wellness first, you will see how quickly your energy elevates. Because the way I describe it, y'all, I was splitting my energy, right? So let's say I got a ball of energy. Every time somebody calls, I'm answering the phone. That's this energy. Anytime I get a career opportunity or something like that, I'm trying to take everybody with me. That's this energy. Anytime it would be down to the point like, I have friends staying with me. I got roommates. Every time I cook, I'm feeding the tribe, right? I'm making sure everybody eat. I'm feeding the tribe. I was the only one cooking. I'm the only one providing food. I'm the only one providing sustenance. That's that energy. Anytime you want to come to New York, you want to come stay at my house, I'm opening my doors, laying out the red carpet for you. That's that energy. By the time I'm done giving out all this energy, all I got is this much of me. All I got is this much of me left. Somebody almost walked off with all of my stuff. Didn't leave me nothing but the kick or sway of it. The perfect ass for my man, and none of it was theirs. It was mine.
Come on.
Mine. Somebody almost left with me in a plastic bag under their arm.
Come on.
You know, like, that's what you really got to realize. Like, you are allowing people to walk off with all of your stuff. You have to pick and choose and decide, when am I going to share myself? But I'm never going to share all of my energy. I'm never breaking off pieces here and there. I got to have all of me. And when you set your boundaries and you have all of you, all that energy you was giving to other people, you're going to start pulling back to you. And when you could pour all of that energy that I was giving, picking up the phone every time you needed me, I'm now putting that energy into my career. Boom. YouTube channel taking off. Patreon taking off. All of these things taking off. That energy that I was giving, laying out the red carpet every time somebody came to my house, I spent that. That's my energy. I'm putting protection and doing my floor washes and making sure my window sills is protected and my thresholds is good. Now my home feels peaceful. My home feels like I'm moving to a better apartment. I'm moving to a better neighborhood. All the energy I was giving out to people, I was now able to put into me, and my cup started overflowing. But for my cup to overflow, I didn't expect other people to pour into my cup. I poured into my cup. That's how boundaries was the most helpful for me. Now, Darcell, for you, when it comes to when you really started truly setting your boundaries, what differences did you notice in your life for you? And then, I want you to answer the same question.
Well, I think immediately I noticed that people start dropping like flies. They started dropping like flies. And I think both of it comes from, a social thing, but it's an energetic thing. Okay. It's the law of vibration and resonance. We're on two different frequencies here now. Before, I showed up as such a help and as such, I'm an assistant at this point. And so, and this is the thing that I want people to understand. I showed up to people as if I was everything. I could do everything. I could be everything at whatever time you needed me to be. And what I also had to realize was that when I stopped it, they were upset. But instead of me being like, y'all don't get me, da, 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 I have to realize I set an expectation and I made a promise that I could not keep. And it was me that had the realization that, oh my gosh, I agreed to this relationship being a certain way. And I was out of order because I didn't search myself. I didn't even know what it was that I needed or what my capacity was. And so then they get in a space of feeling abandoned. And you have to take that on the chin, because you did. You came to this person and you presented yourself. You even told them. And this happens a lot with relationships too. You even tell them, they tell you, listen, I'm trash. I got these problems and these things. And you say, I'm going to accept you for everything you got. It don't matter. I'm going to take everything. No matter what you do, I'm going to be next to you. I'm going to be beside you, until they do that one thing that you didn't know was outside of your capacity. And then you like, don't worry about it. I'm out of here. And so that was a piece of understanding. So people started to drop off. But then I noticed that I didn't realize how much time I had in a day. I didn't realize how much time I had in a week. And there were hour periods where I was sitting there like, what am I supposed to do? I'm like, I'm bored. Oh my God, I have an extra 4 hours in a day. Wait a minute. And then I could substitute and fill those spaces with things that actually benefited me. So between the people falling off and realizing how much time that I was giving away to people, and then when they couldn't give it back, I was resenting them. That's a whole different conversation. But I was resenting them because they couldn't give me what I gave them. I realized, Darcell, listen, this is the practice. This is the standard. Okay, this is it. I didn't know how much time I was giving away. And then I said, dang, I had all these things I wanted to accomplish. I'm like, I don't have time for it. Yes, you do. You just give all of your time away. Period.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, yeah, I said somebody almost walked off with all of your stuff, Darcell. They almost walked off with your time. Okay. For y'all who don't know, that's Ntozake Shange poem in the book For Colored Girls Who Committed Suicide When the Rainbow Isn't Enough. That's from her poem, also known, Tyler Perry did the movie For Colored Girls based on that. And Loretta Devine performed the poem in that movie. Okay. Somebody almost walked off with all of my stuff. Look it up on YouTube. Yeah, for you, what are things you noticed started changing in your life when you really started implementing your boundaries?
I started to realize that I didn't have dreams for myself because I was always helping everybody else accomplish their dreams.
Oh, you didn't have dreams for yourself.
So when people go, well, what do you think you want to do in such and such years? And yeah, I could do it under a degree or a corporation or saying these things. But then I started looking, why did people keep me around? Because they knew that I would be there to get them to where they needed to be for the dreams they wanted to accomplish. But whenever I needed the support for something I decided I want to do, it was like, I'll get back to that. But they knew it would be successful if I came behind and did whatever. Most of the time, not even getting the credit. Right. So, and that went on for decades before it hit me that my dream wasn't really helping them. It was the ability to help people grow within themselves, to do for themselves. Right. My dream wasn't fixing all the issues and being the person that takes that on. I think some of y'all know that I said I got a tattoo that had to do with an African proverb about how a white tiger got its stripes. Right. Taking the problems of the village. This summer, I'm getting that tattooed over when I go back to Nigeria, just so you know that my story has changed. So,
come on.
That's what I was doing. taking on everybody else's stuff to help them get to the goals. I want to start a nonprofit. I want it to be successful. I want to grow in this business. I want to do that. I want to be in music. How do I get placed? Blah, blah, blah. So I figured out all the things on the back end to make them be successful. And then when someone came to me and I was like, oh, I think I want to start this thing. Oh, okay, well, good. I was like, you know what? The moment people always look at who releases you, sometimes people are only using you to get what they need to, you think it's releasing you and you're putting all of the things into them. But the moment that I started releasing them, it was like, what do you mean? Because the fault that people would tell you is Ia's loyal to a fault. I've known her for this many years and she's loyal. And that loyalty was getting my ass in trouble, helping you do what you need to do. But the moment I just went silent, let me tell you, it was like, she's never gone silent before. She's never not helped. She's never not whatever. I'm like, yep, not doing it. That's it. When I did that, all of a sudden you have Ia here. Hello. I'm Iyanifa on the streets. And look how long it took me to get to that point.
Yep. Yes. And I see so many people in the chat are resonating with that, right? They are resonating like, you know, with the idea of you are spending so much time pouring into everybody else that you're not doing that for yourself, you know. And as Darcell mentioned, you know, you're going to notice that some people will start to drop off like flies because, family, I always tell y'all, some people don't love you. They love what you do for them.
Yes.
They don't care about you. They care about what you do for them. And the moment you stop doing is the moment they stop caring. The moment you stop giving, the moment they stop loving. Okay. They don't love you. They love what you do for them. And that's a big difference. And you will know the people who are in your life because they truly love you, simply because when you are in a space where you can no longer do, they leave. When you are in the space where you, and not even going to say can no longer do, but you choose to stop doing,
they leave.
They go away. You know, so the thing with you know, being firm in your boundaries, you have to accept that some people are going to get upset. Some people are not going to understand. Some people are going to call you selfish. Some people are going to completely walk out of your life. That's something that you have to accept. But the positives is, all of that energy you was given to everybody else is now poured into you. Your career gonna start growing. Your household gonna start being better. Your life will be more abundant. Your energy will be higher. Everything that you need in order to be well is going to elevate because all that energy you was given, you are now pouring into yourself. Now, another huge shift when it came to understanding boundaries for me, and y'all, this is the one. This is the one. And shout out to my friend Twan. He's in town this week. We going to be brunching on Saturday because he taught me a major lesson when it comes to this. Okay? Because, y'all, when I first started setting my boundaries, I ain't going to front. The moment my boundaries was disrespected, I was cutting everybody the fuck off. Everybody got to go. I was cutting niggas off left and right. Okay? The moment. Because what I realized, and this is the lesson, family. Again, my boundaries is my practice. I realized that I had no method of implementing my boundaries. I knew what was for my wellness. I knew what hurt me, what prevented me from being well. But what were the consequences when my boundaries were crossed? I realized, and remember earlier, I said I was given a lot of passes. I was given a lot of grace. So somebody would cross my boundary and I would just communicate it again because you have to communicate your boundaries. You know, hey, this is my boundary. This is hey, this is important for me for my wellness. I need this. So you got to communicate your boundary. But when my boundary was crossed, I had no consequence. And then when I realized like, oh, I need to start implementing consequences when my boundaries are crossed, the only consequence I knew was to cut your ass the fuck off. That was my only consequence. I realized that I needed to start building consequences. I needed to have almost like steps. So what I started doing, and I want to know from y'all, what are your consequences for crossing your boundaries? What I started doing when my boundaries was crossed, I have a step process, y'all. I give a warning. In that warning, I'll say, hey, you know, that's a boundary for me. I'm not okay with that. And I re-explain my boundary. This is the boundary. I'm not a fan of this. For my wellness, I need this. So when I'm communicating my boundary, I'm telling you what I desire, what I need. I'm giving you an alternative action. That action is not okay with me. That crosses my boundary and impedes my wellness. I would prefer if you, and I give them another option, right? So I would give a warning and reiterate my boundary. You cross my boundary again, I had to withdraw my energy. Okay, so clearly at this point, second time you cross the boundary, I'm gonna say maybe you forgot, maybe you don't know, but I'm gonna have to remind you, and I'm just gonna have to start withdrawing my energy. You ain't gonna be able to contact me as much as you used to be able to contact me. I'm not easily accessible to you no more. You ain't gonna be able to be around me like you used to be around me. When you do get a hold of my energy, and I do decide to share time, space, and energy with you, that third time you cross my boundary, then you cut. Then you cut. Third time, 3 strikes you out now. Then you cut. You know, so I had to start implementing consequences for my boundaries, because something I always tell the wellness community, y'all know, we'll be talking, and somebody will be like, yeah, so my mama did this, and then my sister had did this, and then my sister had did that again, and my sister had did that again, and I'm like, where are your boundaries? But you have the boundary, but you never implemented a consequence when the boundary was crossed. So family, Darcell, Iya, whoever wants to go first, what are the consequences that you have put in place when your boundaries are crossed? What do you do?
I just cut them off at the knees. There is no process.
I said, what's grace? Spell grace.
It's not GRAC. It's definitely not E. I was trying to show you.
Yeah,
I just cut them off at the knees now. I did all that earlier, and it didn't work. So now I don't play them games. In my mental capacity and space, 3 strikes, it happens mentally. But that first strike could have started 30 years ago. Like, the way I operate.
30 years ago.
I just come off at the knees. Okay, I'm done. And
back in 92, I think I told your ass not to play with me.
I was like, first strike. Now here we are 30 years later, and you're just doing 2 and 3. Like,
I'm hollering. Well, I think my system, if you will, of consequence is similar, Poe. But I think, again, because I know myself, I know that I can be real sensitive, and my responses are at first emotional, very emotional. And so I can really come in response with a tonality that's not conducive. It's not conducive. So one, because I've already done the work and I know my boundaries, when I have something happen, I have to take some time before I respond, because my reaction is going to be, after this conversation, we through it. Because my immediate reaction is going to be real strong, and we're just not going to be able to recover. It's not conducive. So I always take time. It's giving water, Pisces, moon, and rising. Okay. That's what it is. Leo sun, Pisces, moon, and rising. Okay. Tropical astrology. Vedic, double Aquarius. Anyway. Okay. So it takes time. Right. And so I said, I got to take time and get clear, because a couple of things that I have to process. One, what made them think that they could do that? Was it because they didn't know? Was it a boundary that I updated that I did not express? Because that happens a lot. I update a boundary. I update, this is what I'm doing now, and I don't tell nobody about nothing. And so they don't even have a clue that if you call my phone and it doesn't ring, or it rings and goes to voicemail, don't call me 2 and 3 times. If you call me 2 and 3 times, we're getting ready to have a level 2 issue. Don't call me. You better be running from a murderer. Okay. And that's why you call me. But even then, you need to call 911. So I sat there and I go through that. I said, now, is it because that they not know? Have I not communicated this update? Okay. So then now that I'm clear on what happened, and the experience is not clouded with my emotion, now I can respond. And then it typically is a conversation. It is I did not appreciate that. I didn't appreciate when you did this. And I don't know if you knew this, but this is what it is. But honestly, after that conversation, you on the second time, it's a wrap. Honestly, it is a strong withdrawal, and the withdrawal is so strong that you like, damn, let me just not. Let me not even. Let me not even deal with it no more.
Withdrawal.
So what you're saying is
you woke up dead. Okay?
It's really one strike, like Iya with your Leo energy. You just played yourself trying to make it two.
Here she go. Here she go.
So we already know it's one. Okay.
Now this should have been
out
one.
Of the three of us, Poe the only one with the patience.
I am quite patient, but see, I'm with Darcell when it comes to like, for me, after strike two, and I said I withdraw my energy. You can't get a hold of me. I'm talking about you become like an Instagram friend. You become like a TikTok friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, we ain't texting like that. We ain't calling like that. We ain't visiting like that. That's the level of like withdraw. You I like it on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So where it ain't no issues. It ain't no beef. And this is the thing, family. I do want to say this because a lot of y'all have expressed that your issues with boundaries come from family, and I'm like this with family, with friends. I'm very universal with how I carry myself with my boundaries. In the event, though, that somebody needs to be cut off, in the event, I'm going to share with y'all my cutoff conversation. I have a blueprint. I have an outline. You
better make this a PDF, girl.
Okay, and let me tell y'all. For the niggas who's watching that's heard this conversation, I meant what I said. Okay, and you'll catch it. It makes sense. Okay, but this is literally my outline. I will simply say, we are not aligned.
That's it.
I desire. Stop laughing, y'all. They're not gonna take it serious. Stop laughing.
Okay. She said we are not aligned.
We are not aligned. Okay. I feel, I believe, and I practice this. You feel, you believe, and you practice that. Okay? I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm not saying one of us is right and one of us is wrong. I'm just saying we are not aligned. We are not aligned. Therefore, you should go find your tribe, and I'm going to go find my tribe, because to be tribe, you have to be in alignment. Yes. We should share similar beliefs and practices, right? So we're not tribe, and that's okay. There's a tribe out there for you. There's a person out there for you. There's a woman out there for you. We are just not aligned. It's all love, though. I wish you well.
For the people in the back, let me urbanly challenge this for you. You played yourself.
Oh, God. Yeah, please.
You played yourself. You thought I was going to help you elevate the way you need to be. I don't got time to babysit you, boo. So until next time, there won't be. But until next time, I'll see you later. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Clear communication of the issue. Clear communication. Because, see, that's the thing. A lot of folks think that when it's the cutoff conversation, when you got to cut somebody off, they think it got to be beef. They think it got to be smoke. They think it got to be out of... No. And the reason I have that conversation is because I want you to know, hey, it's not an argument here because I've decided. So I'm not saying one of them.
She said there's no discussion, boo.
No discussion. We're not about the debate.
I'm very clear. I'm not confused on this.
Very clear. And the reason this is how you stop the debate portion. When you say, I'm not saying one of us is right, one of us is wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying one of us is better than the other. I'm just saying we do things differently, and that's okay. That's how you start the debate. And then you say, I wish you well. I wish you well, and I love you always. That's how you let them know it ain't no beef, it ain't no problem, ain't no issues. If I see you in the street or at a get-together, it's still what's up, though.
Yes.
But I just don't fuck with you. We ain't tribe. We ain't friends. We ain't cool like that,
Oh, did
my
you see?
My version is a little bit.
Darlene's comment there.
What did Darlene say?
My version of that is not everybody is meant to walk on an elevated plane, and then that's it.
Darlene said, what can you do if you rely on someone and they keep crossing boundaries because they know you can't leave? Now, Darlene, I'm going to say this, and I had to give the wellness community this caveat in the Zoom because I was talking about a boundary I set with a family member, and they said, were you living with them? Y'all, I'm always speaking from the perspective of somebody who's not reliant on a person.
Yeah.
We have to be very clear when we give this advice. All of us, we have to be very clear, okay, that when we are sharing this, we're not talking about in situations where we are dependent upon the person. Yes. When you are dependent upon a person for something, when it comes to your boundaries and things like that, it's a very different situation because they know you need them. They know you need them. And oftentimes people play with your need. Yes. They play with that. They know you're dependent upon them. An example I'm going to share, I had a friend, and this is, y'all, tell me how crazy this sounds. She was depending upon her aunt to babysit her daughter. She couldn't afford daycare. My friend wanted to start her daughter's locks. She would take her daughter to the aunt house. The aunt was against locks. She would comb the locks out every time. My friend was like, hey, she wants these locks. I'm going to do this. Every time the aunt would comb them out. No matter how many conversations, no matter how many times she reiterated the boundaries, no matter how many times they argued about it, she would comb the baby locks out. So I said, stop taking her over there. She had no choice, and the aunt knew that. The aunt knew that, and the aunt literally said to her, well, what you gonna do? Every time you bring her over here, I'm gonna comb them out, and what you gonna do? See, she knows you need her, so she knows she could play with you like that. You know what I'm saying? She knows she could play with you like that. So honestly, in a position like that, where you may be staying with your parent or staying with somebody and you have no way of being independent and being on your own, so you're depending on them for your wellness. When you are depending on somebody else for your wellness, they set the boundaries for your wellness. Mm-hmm. When you are depending on somebody else for your wellness, they set the boundaries for your wellness. Yes. Okay? Iya and Darcell, how y'all feel about that?
I would say for me, in a situation like that, that's when your internal anchoring needs to be really strong. Mm-hmm. That is when you need to really know the wellness practices that you can do within your space and your capacity to keep you well as an individual. Because until you get out of the space and the environment, you're always going to be confronting that. And so that's when you need to make sure that your own individual spiritual practice, your affirmation, what you're listening to on your headphones in your ears is something that is encouraging you and giving you the strength to find peace at the center. Because until you are able to get out of that, you are never, ever going to be able to escape that external stimuli. But that internal, you can do some work on yourself internally to make sure that what you're consuming, because you already got this person here that you can't get away from. But what you can choose to consume is something that strengthens you internally. And I've had to do that before. So that's my perspective on it.
For me, I'm a planner. It may take me a minute, but I'm going to figure it out. So if I already know now that I need an exit plan, in some way that I need to change whatever is going on for it to happen, I would work it out. I would look at whatever programs are available. In this case, because it's my child, whatever programs are available that I feel comfortable with to get help with, or I would be planning that thing out 6 months to a year. I don't even care. It may take some time, but I would make sure that the end result still benefits the person I'm doing it for and myself.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do.
Absolutely. And I think that both of those are important, is that really it's about what Darcell is speaking about is doing the internal work to remain as well as possible so that you can be able to tolerate what's going on in your external until you can do what Iya said, which is get a plan to get up out of there. Mm-hmm. Okay. You got to get a plan to move forward and get up out that situation, and I see somebody said that, it's with their husband. Okay, and sisters, I'm gonna specifically say this, okay? And Darcell and I probably have experienced this as well. one thing about us, I've come to see, understand, and learn, especially during consultations, y'all. When we be in a relationship, honey, women will give their whole self, and you will put your relationship before you put anything else. Okay? Literally, a man told me, a man, not a man I was with, but a male friend, he told me, he said, I'm always putting myself first. And this is a married man. He said, I'm always putting myself first. This man has kids. I'm always putting myself first. I find that women often in relationships, your boundaries are tested because you have set a precedence that you're willing to put others before your wellness.
Mm-hmm.
You have set a precedence of that. You have shown through your actions that you are willing to bend and fold and sometimes even break in order to make sure that he is well, the kids as well. I'm dog tired. I ain't got no sleep. I've been working 12 hours, but I got to come home and cook for my man, even though my feet are swelled up because I done been over them working all day. You tired, exhausted, bogged down, but you got to put your man first. You putting everybody before your own wellness. And because you've kind of set that precedent, you've shown them how to treat you. So sometimes even within our own dynamics of relationships, when you have this shift, because it's not too late, sisters, I'm going to just say this here. You can retrain people how to treat you.
Come on.
You can retrain them how to treat you. You can set some boundaries, but here's the thing. They also have the option to not respect it. They also have the option to not treat you how you want to be treated. And then it comes back to self. What you gonna do? That's when we talked about the consequences to your boundaries. Then what you gonna do? When you trying to teach that man that, hey, I got to put me first. I can't do this all the time. And he like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to disrespect the boundary. I'm going to cross that line. What you going to do, sis? What's going to be the consequence for your boundaries? See, the problem is a lot of folks, and not just the husbands, just people in your life in general, they know you ain't got no consequence. They know they could keep violating you and keep trying you and keep disrespecting you because you have shown time and time again that you're going to still show up. You're going to still keep giving. You're going to still keep cooking and cleaning and sucking and all the other things. Huh? Y'all know how I get. I was about to go, but I stopped myself. Huh?
Growth.
You know, but they know you're going to still keep doing all the things you do, no matter how they treat you. So if the person in your life, anybody, lover, friends, family, if anybody is showing you that they're not willing to retrain themselves on how to treat you, as I said earlier, some people don't love you for you. They love what you do for them. They love that you put them before your wellness. And a lot of people may not want to hear this, but it might be your husband. It might be your wife. It might be your lover. It might be your friend. It might be your daddy, your mama, your cousin, your sister, your brother, who they don't love you. They love what you do for them. And once you stop doing for them, they file in them papers. They know you won't, though. Darcell, how do y'all feel about that when it comes to setting those types of firm boundaries and kind of trying to retrain the people that you love on how to treat you, especially when y'all share a household?
Yeah, my grandmother, great grandmother, Mama Lily, she taught my mother. She said, you teach people how to treat you. And that is why, to what you were saying, Poe, you are at the center of your boundaries. So with what I was talking about, tapping into self to see what is it that I am doing, or what precedents have I set for these individuals to expect this from me? Because I entered into this excusing everything. I entered into this consequenceless. I enter into this boundaryless, right? And so I witnessed this actually with my mother. My mom, my dad had a lot of health issues, and he would be at the hospital a lot, and a lot of these health issues, quite frankly, was because of his own choices. I mean, that's just it. We tell you got congestive heart failure, and you cutting the lawn, smoking a cigarette. I just don't know what you want, what you expect to happen, okay? And then you keep having a fluid buildup, or you don't like taking your water pill. I don't know what to tell you with that. But I would notice, and I was like, I have a miracle mother. I said, this woman is a miracle mother, because I would remember, like, her stomach is very sensitive. So if she ever caught like a stomach bug or something, she would be out. I mean, in the bed, like not getting up, out. I kid you not, my mother was in the bed, couldn't get up until she found out or heard my dad was not well. And when I tell you, this woman rose up like Lazarus, and it was like there was nothing wrong. Nothing. She was walking, running, moving quick, putting on clothes, run down there to the hospital, thinking, quick wit, everything. And I said, oh my God, this woman is a superhero, and no one can tell me anything. But that in a space where people don't care about you is extremely dangerous. That in a space where people will misuse that and mistreat you is extremely dangerous. And I think even I've witnessed it from my sisters with children, with their kids. I know that you the mama, but some of these kids be where I sit and watch one of my sisters, and I had to pull up to the side. The children was on her like a jungle gym. And I'm like, there is not an ounce of peace in your life. And I think that we, especially from the parental side, and again, I always check my male privilege. I'm not speaking for women. I'm not, but I'm going to say that from a parent, you always want to show up for your kids. You always want to be present for your kids and do everything that you can. But if you go down, everything goes down. If you are the one holding the ship together and you go down, there ain't no more ship.
Darcell, I'm just going to interject quickly. Mm-hmm. Symphony, my girl, I see you in the chat. Hey, Sim. Okay, just real quickly. Gloria, my auntie.
Come on, Poe. Come on.
My auntie was married for 30 plus years before she transitioned. I'm not going to go in detail, but it wasn't what I thought it was. But in hindsight, all the signs were there, and this was one of the signs. And when I say one of the signs, I'm speaking of one of the signs that he's trying to show you he don't need you. He's trying to show you that the things that you're doing for him that you think he values, he does not value, right? So when you stop cooking, you stop washing the clothes, and he's like, I could do it myself. See, sometimes as women, we do this because we've been raised this way. It's not your fault. We've been taught that a way to a man's heart is through his stomach. We've been taught that we're supposed to wash the clothes and cook his food and rub his feet and all of that stuff. But I'm telling y'all, every man does not value that. That's not the stuff that every man puts on a pedestal. And for different reasons, some men feel like that's basic. Some men feel like, duh, that's what you're supposed to do. But what else do you do? So for some of them, it's that. And for some of them, they just don't care about that because they're very self-sufficient and they can do it on their own. So when we start setting our boundaries, we get upset. We want to stop cooking. We want to stop washing the clothes. We want to stop doing the things. That may not be what that man values. You know what I'm saying? So when you're implementing consequences to your boundaries, it's not about removing the things that you value. It's about understanding what they value. When I say, people only love what you can do for them, sometimes the things you think that you're doing that they value is not really what they love you for. They love you for other things that you're doing for them. So What you have to figure out is, what are you doing that he values? What are you doing that he cares about? Because the cooking and the washing of clothes, clearly he's trying to show you, I don't value these things. I could do without those things. So what in your relationship do you add that he values? And you may find out, unfortunately, that it's nothing. You may find out that he don't value nothing that you do. He don't value nothing that you bring. Or You may found out that it's the little things. He values when y'all sit on the corner of the bed and y'all have a conversation going over y'all day. He may value when you do that little thing with your hair in the mirror, or with the way you talk to him, or how when he's at work on his lunch break and he could, talk to you on the phone and break down. He may value that. So sometimes they don't value nothing, but sometimes the things that they really value and hold the closest is the things that you think are minuscule that really don't matter, but that's what really matters, So that's going to be a communication thing. And I would really ask him, I would ask my partner, what do I do for you that you really value? And I'm going to tell you now, though, you got to be ready, Gloria, because he may say nothing. And that's your sign that you mean nothing to him. You are just somebody possibly splitting bills. I don't know if you're Gabrielle. I don't know if you're going 50-50. But you may just be somebody to split bills with and be a hole to slide through. That's it. Okay? Now, Ia, share your thoughts.
What was funny is I was going to say, and people hear me say this all the time, but even in this, with setting your boundaries, stop operating from a place of fear of what's going to happen if I set this way. What is the consequence that I'm going to value from this person? Because no consequence should be to the detriment of yourself. So that, and then that question happened to come up, or that statement, and then I was like, there's a fear there. The fear is, what is the benefit to you that you feel is going on based on a boundary that you want to set? It may not be the perception of what you believe that it is. So don't operate from a place of fear when setting your boundaries, or moving your boundary because you want to accommodate the other person just to make it a little bit easier to work through or deal with, and all of these things. Because once you start to compromise a little bit in relationships, you compromise, yes, right? So I'm not going to say you don't do that. But once you compromise a little bit on that boundary that you set, it's just going to be off the chain. It's just going to be a domino effect, and you won't be able to get a hold of it. And then that's when you lose what it was you set the boundary for in the first place. And we don't want to do that. Like, that's not what we want to do. Yeah, fear, in the words of Darcell, Andre, esoteric teacher, will have you in a chokehold.
It will have you in a chokehold.
In all aspects of your life. Because you're like, what happens if I leave? Will I be able to handle this? Where will I go, or what will I do if this doesn't happen? Such and such and such. Listen, start from the bottom, okay, and work your way up. If you have to go backwards to move forwards, do that. But once you set whatever it is you set for your betterment, keep it there. Don't waver on that, because that means you're wavering on yourself.
Okay, you guys, so I have a hard out coming up soon. Okay, I have a meeting at 5:30. So final thoughts on boundaries. I see, family, that y'all are really loving this, and I hope that y'all learned a lot. I hope that this message on boundaries has been well and has really served you, and you learned something from it. Okay, your boundaries are for your wellness. It's your practice. Before we go, Darcell and Iya, do y'all have any final thoughts that y'all want to share on the topic of boundaries?
Yes, I do. I think I learned this lesson recently. I had been conditioned to always have an answer. And us who are teachers, leaders, with whatever position that you may have, it don't have to be on a platform. It can be in your life. If you are the go-to person, you are the person that everyone looks to. I was putting myself through a lot of unnecessary struggles because I thought that I needed to have the answers. I thought that I needed to tell them what to do. I thought that I was the solution. And sometimes you are not the solution. Most times you are not the solution. Just in the same way, we realize that people value us not because of who we are, but because of what we do. Make sure that you don't value yourself only by what you do. Because that right there was taking me out. I was like, what? I can't do this. I can't provide. I can't help you. And now I'm feeling horrible because I can't do the impossible for you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And from this way, and y'all heard me say it earlier, but I'll start earlier in the live, and I'm going to start and end with it. The very first thing is your boundaries are for you. They are not based on your experiences with your family, with your friends, with your associates. They are what you set for yourself that you feel will bring you the most peace. That's the first thing. And remember that not everybody is meant to walk on an elevated plane. As you change and you grow, so will your boundaries, and so will the people around you. So just make sure you keep that in mind. That's it. As long as you keep that in mind, that not everybody is meant to walk with you, not everybody is meant to elevate, you'll be good. That's
That
it,
part.
y'all.
The what's the proverb? All monkeys can't hang on the same
Same
branch.
at all.
And that's okay.
Yep. And be
That's
okay
okay.
with that. I think some people are not okay with that and with boundaries because they think it's going to take away their support system. But if they look back, they realize that they really don't have that support.
That part.
Yeah,
That part.
there's no support system in the people that you think are the ones supporting you. So that's it.
Okay, family. All right, I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all know I got folks in town.
Yeah.
Okay, so they coming in and out. But hold on, y'all.
She like, did he? Did he?
What about what I want?
You know, salam, relax,
What
relax,
about
relax.
what's best for me?
Okay. All right. So, my final word on boundaries, family, I would just say and heavily, heavily advise, along with Diddy in the background, I would heavily advise that, you remember Diddy.
You got to get his 5
Please,
minutes.
please. Okay. He's excited. But I would definitely heavily advise that you remember that your boundaries are for you. They are meant for you to implement and for you to respect for yourself. Okay. Please always remember that your wellness comes first. Be unapologetic about putting yourself first. Be unapologetic about prioritizing your wellness. I don't care who, who it is. Your wellness comes first. And when people are asking you to do things, when people are asking you to live by certain rules and, to not do certain things, don't be afraid to ask them, what about how I feel? What about what's best for me? Because what you may find and what you may realize is they didn't think about you. And you know why they didn't think about you? It's because they was putting themselves first. They was prioritizing their wellness. Okay. So that may be what you realize. Okay. You may realize that they are prioritizing their own wellness over you. So by simply asking, well, what about my wellness? What about what I need? What about what's best for me? What about how I feel? That you'll see it in their face. It's like, oh, well, I didn't think about that. Sometimes they'll even say, well, I'm just saying for me, I need this. And they're reminding you that they're prioritizing themselves. So you have to do that for you too. Self-preservation is key. And if your cup is empty, if your wellness is damaged, if your boundaries are consistently crossed and people are pulling and pushing and dabbing at your triggers, what are you going to do to maintain your wellness? This new moon is in Taurus. Jupiter is in Taurus. Mercury is direct in Taurus. When it comes to that Taurus energy right now, you are desiring steadiness and stability in your wellness. That is what you are desiring. People are going to attempt to trigger that, to knock you off your rocker. This is a time where you have to remember your boundaries, implement your boundaries, practice your boundaries, and have consequences for when your boundaries are crossed. Clearly communicate your boundaries and have consequences for when they are crossed. Prioritize yourself. Mind your triggers. Mind your emotional and behavioral responses. But most of all, put your wellness first. All of this is done with the intention of putting your wellness first. Now, someone asked for a book recommendation on setting boundaries. Yes, Deja. Deja know me so well. Nedra Tawwab, Set Boundaries, Find Peace. Nedra Tawwab, I love her dearly. She just dropped a new book called Drama Free. Follow her on Instagram. She's amazing. She always puts up like amazing videos and write-ups. I got a homegirl, Sierra. I had her on the channel last year for Mental Health Awareness Month, where she shared her experience, and she checked herself into a mental and behavioral health institution, right? So she talked about that whole experience and how much it really, really helped improve her mental wellness. So go watch that video. I shared it in the Wellness Community group chat. But me and her share back and forth Nedra Tawwab's videos and all of that all the time. She did Red Table Talk. She's done The Breakfast Club. Nedra Tawwab is really that girl. Set boundaries, find peace. She's that girl. So that's my book recommendation for that. Iya and Darcell, do y'all have a specific book recommendation for setting boundaries?
No, Alex.
I went to my Kindle. Right now. I was like, let me go to my Kindle. I know I got a book. It's the same one you recommended.
The same one?
The same one.
Okay. Yeah, what about you?
I said no, Alex, 4,000. No.
Oh. All right, family. I love y'all. Iya and Darcell, thank y'all so much for pulling up and having this beautiful conversation. I'm glad it has been helpful. Thank you to Diddy for quieting it down so we could end on a peaceful note. Okay, he come pitter-pattering over here like, see? I love y'all, family. I will connect to y'all with y'all soon. Wellness Community, we have a Zoom on Saturday. I'm putting the link in the Patreon. We have a Zoom Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I will see y'all there, and we could expound more on this topic as a collective. I love y'all, and peace.